Hey guys, first off, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for stepping into this adventure, leading an equip group or a care group. I'm super excited about what God's going to do in you and with you over these next few weeks. They say that leaders often learn so much more than the folks that are part of their group. And so I just trust that that's going to be true of you. And I'm super excited to be on this adventure with you. Real quickly, at North Point, we have 4 types of groups. We have connecting groups, which are really designed just to help people get to know each other at North Point. Really great for newer folks. We have equip groups, which are designed for a couple of purposes, and we're going to talk about those in a minute. You might be leading one of those. We also have care groups. We'll talk about those in a couple of minutes because you might be leading one of those. And then our 4th group is life groups, and hopefully you're familiar with those. That's really the destination and heartbeat of North Point. But today, for about a few minutes, we just want to talk about, give you an overview and some equipping on what we mean when we say equip groups or care groups. So with this video, I sent you this pamphlet right here. It'd be great if you pulled that up on your computer screen, go picture in picture, or whatever you have to do to watch and listen to this video, as well as looking at this manual that you have in front of you. If you flip to the first page there, you'll see part 1. It's actually page 3. It says part 1. It kind of tells you where we're going. And then if you flip to page 4, it talks about both groups, equip groups and care groups. And really, these are venues for discipleship. That's the whole reason that we do these. They are not just to waste time or to fill time. It's not just for information transfer. Certainly, we want to communicate something. But at the end of the day, we really want to fulfill the mission of North Point, which is help all people move to a life fully devoted to Christ. And equip groups and care groups are really the heart of that and really help foster that reality. We might say it like we want to help create intentional disciple-making friendships. Equip groups and care groups, that's their goal. That's what they're designed around. The definition of an equip group is a short group experience built around equipping. We want to equip people with something. A care group definition, a little different. We'd say it's a group experience built around a specific recovery work. Sometimes we use the phrase a hurt, habit, or hang-up. And those are kind of just the basic definitions of both of those groups. The difference between the two is really the priority of those goals. But again, the purpose is to help all people move to a life fully devoted to Christ. At the end of the day, discipleship, intentional disciple-making friendships. Flip to page 5. If you're leading an equip group, and we've talked about that, this is your page. This is really the goals and what we're hoping to see out of this group. You see that there's 2 goals there. Number 1, give an irresistible taste of life group. We really want this equip group to give people a sense of what it's like to be in a group. We love it at the end of that group when they go, hey, this was great. When's the next one? But instead of just being serial equip groupers, we want to encourage them into that next step, which is really a life group. So at the end of your equip group, when people are saying, this was great, I made some great relationships, when's the next one? We want to hear phrases like, well, a life group is this all the time. We'd love it if you jump into a life group. It's okay if people jump into another equip group. Not everybody is ready to jump into a life group, but we really want them to have that irresistible taste of group life. And you see some examples of how that looks. The relationships were made in the group. Maybe they picked up information on a life group. You directed them to the wall or online, and they grabbed a card on that. Maybe they joined a life group because of their experience in your equip group. Or maybe your equip group turned into a life group. This is what we're talking about when we say, give an irresistible taste of group life. The second goal of an equip group is to equip people with a certain kind of skill. Something more than maybe just doing a study or just looking at material, but you're really training them something. So maybe it's training them how to study or how to do a certain thing. And you see some examples listed there, whether it's becoming better parents or having a healthier marriage or learning how to study a certain book of the Bible. We want to equip people with a specific skill. That's the basic overview of an equip group. If you flip to page 6, we talk about sort of the basic overview of a care group. Care groups have just a little bit different priority. You see the first goal there is to take steps in recovery work. And we really want to emphasize the recovery component. We talk a little about the difference between a recovery group and a support group. And for us, we want to make sure that we are emphasizing Christ-focused healing recovery work. Certainly support is part of that, but we want to see people taking steps in the journey, moving forward. And you see some examples there underneath that. The idea of maybe grief share or financial peace, outside looking in, celebrate recovery. We have a number of these types of groups, but people are landing in healthier places, or maybe debt is being paid off, or maybe folks are getting a sense of strength or moving towards a bigger goal. This idea of taking steps in recovery work is our first goal for a care group. Second goal is this: give irresistible taste of relational groups. So while they're working on the things that they're working on in that care group, they are also getting this irresistible taste of what it's like to be in a group that's focused on discipleship, growing towards being a follower of Jesus, being changed by Jesus, being committed to the mission of Jesus. That's the definition of a disciple. And that's what we want care groups to help people move along in their journey. And again, you see some examples there, building some relationships in the group, genuine life issues were discussed, people felt like they had a place where they could share openly and honestly. This is what a care group is built around. Whether you're leading an equip group or a care group, page 7 deals with how you're going to get at those two goals. And you see those three keys there. Number 1 being that you have used or are using chosen material that allows for both of those goals to happen. That it's going to require a balance of lecture and video. If it's all video and no opportunity to talk, how will you develop relationships? Group conversation is a huge component to developing these relationships and giving an irresistible taste of group life. So choosing material that allows for that. Also, choosing material or choosing a venue that allows everybody to participate and to speak. So if the group is 75 people, that's going to be challenging. You'll have to think, how do we break that down into smaller groups where everybody has a chance to talk and nobody's hiding in the back? You see, for care groups, there's a specific little note we put on page 7 that they need to be focused on Christ. This isn't just self-help or trying to be a better self, because we believe that Jesus is really the only answer for dealing with all of our hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And also, again, we mentioned how it needs to be focused on recovery and not just support. None of our care groups are places where people will just come and continue to sit in their struggle. Sitting in the struggle is where they start, but moving forward and recovering is where we want to see them go. The second tip or key to creating groups that will tackle both of these goals is to have a leader who can reflect both goals. And you see some examples of what that looks like for you as a leader. Simple things like room setup. It's much better to set up circles than rows. Are people facing each other? We really don't want to see lecture-style setups if possible. We don't want to see a teacher in the front communicating information to students in the back. We'd rather create this group fostering environment where people are looking at each other, where they're speaking to each other, and the leader is really just facilitating that. Think about your time management. How much of that group time is given over to discussion, and how much of it is either lecture or a video? We think about intentional group building activities throughout the time. Are you using table questions? Are you having them talk to each other? Are you spending more time talking during that discussion time than the participants? That might be a red flag. Circles are better than rows. And then for us, we've discovered that between 4 and 8 weeks is the sweet spot for groups. After 8 weeks, these groups tend to begin to dwindle. Shorter than 4 weeks, they really haven't had the right time to bond and foster some relationships. And that's not a biblical rule, 4 to 8 weeks. We've just found that to be true. And hopefully you and I have already discussed group length. And I get that some material goes much longer than that, and we work that out. But just so we're aware, the longer it goes, the more challenging it is. So we want to see a leader who can reflect both of these goals. And the third thing is a leader who can help bridge the gap. Bridge the gap between what they are doing in the group and how they're building relationships. You see some examples listed there as well on page 7. Notice the natural relationships that are being developed. Notice that. Pay attention to that. Let that ping in your head as to, oh, maybe those two will jump into a life group together. Or if there's a handful of people in your group, 5 or 6 or 7, maybe you're starting to think they would be a great life group. And then help connect that reality with me so that I can help them jump into that next level. You don't have to do all the work on this, which is great. We're just asking you, since you're boots on the ground, you're in that room, to notice those natural relationships being made, and then make that connection with me so that I can help them maybe develop that life group, take that next step to a life group, something like that. Page 8 and page 9, these are good pages just for you to glance over. These are the evaluators that we'll use to help you know how your group went. These will go out electronically at the end of your group season, and we'll give you a little write-up on what we see from that. And that, again, just helps us all know how it went and what we could do better for the next time you lead a group, because we hope this becomes a pattern for you. And then if you move all the way to page 10, hopefully you and I have already talked about this, but if we have not discussed the details of your group, when it's going to meet, what it's going to be about, we need to do that. Here's the 6 questions I'll have for you, and so we'll connect in the next few days. But if we've already talked about that, and that's my guess, that's fantastic. Again, guys, I'm looking forward to seeing what God's going to do with this. Super excited. Thanks for watching this video. As always, I get to be your coach, and so you feel free anytime to reach out if you have questions. I'm going to do the best I can to reach out to you as well and encourage you and equip you throughout the process. But I'm just excited to see what God's going to do, and we'll get started on this venture together.